My speed is reaching to 60 km per hour, and now I can shift to fifth gear. Hello guys, welcome to Clear Road Driving. In this video, I will talk about driving a car with a manual transmission. As usual, before going to the video, I would like to ask you guys to subscribe the YouTube channel and also to like and share the videos. I also would like to mention how much encouraging it is when I learn from the comments that the videos are helping people to pass the practical exam. When driving a manual car, there are two important instruments on the dashboard on which you need to keep an eye: the tachometer and the speedometer. The tachometer displays the engine's revolution per minute, whereas the speedometer displays your car's wheels speed. You as a driver are expected to shift the gears so that the engine will operate in optimal revolution per minute for the speed that the wheels are rotating with. Lower gears generate more power. As a result, when you are moving up from stationary position, you have to use lower gears, usually first gear. But if you want to catch up speed using lower gears, your tachometer will read a higher value. This means if you want to rotate the wheels of your car with higher speed using a lower gear, your engine has to make large number of rotations per minute. In your practical exam, the examiner checks if your gear shifting is eco-friendly. Practically, upshifting in eco-friendly way means you should not delay your upshifting and force the engine to work on a higher revolution per minute. In most cars, it is recommended to make an upshift of the gear when your engine's RPM is somewhere between 2000 and 2500 revolution per minute. When it comes to downshifting, there are multiple ways that you can use while downshifting, like heel and toe, double clutching, and more. Of course, you are not expected to show such downshifting skills during your practical exam. I would say that the downshifting that I follow in this video is easier for new drivers. We have already discussed that you need to accelerate to a proper speed or a proper engine RPM before upshifting. While downshifting also, you need to apply your brake and reduce your engine's RPM to a value somewhere between 1000 and 1300 revolution per minute before downshifting. When reducing your speed, you should avoid applying sharp brake, but rather you need to plan your downshift earlier and reduce your speed gently so that the examiner will not fail you due to lack of eco-driving. In this video, when I downshift from fourth gear, I usually skip third gear and directly go to second gear. This of course depends on the situation that forces me to make a downshift. But it is also okay to downshift sequentially from fourth gear to third gear and then to second gear. I start today's video from the middle of the road. I use first gear to move up from stationary position and will shift to second gear as quickly as possible. I will turn to the left on the next junction, so I will stay on second gear until I finish the turn. I am driving towards a motorway with a 70 km per hour speed limit. So I need to accelerate quickly and shift to appropriate gear while the speed progresses. Just to give you reference about at what speed I am making an upshift on the car that I am driving in this video, on first gear, I usually drive up to around 20 km per hour and I shift to second gear. On the second gear, I can accelerate up to 35 km per hour and shift to third gear. But I can also accelerate as fast as 40 km per hour before shifting to third gear depending on the situation. I can shift from third gear to fourth gear once the speed of the car is above 45 km per hour. But on the third gear also, I can wait until the speed reaches to 50 km per hour before shifting to fourth gear. From fourth gear, I can shift to fifth gear once the speed of the car passes 60 km per hour. And I can shift from fifth to sixth gear when the speed of the car passes 75 km per hour. Please note that this speed reference varies from vehicle to vehicle and also the driving situation. Like if you are driving on an uphill, it is good to accelerate more before upshifting. Additionally, it is also okay to skip gears when upshifting. That means you can, for example, shift from second gear directly to fourth gear. But if you skip third gear and shift directly from second to fourth gear, you need to accelerate a bit more while being on second gear. So, being on second gear, you can accelerate up to 45 km per hour and shift to fourth gear straight away. Please be aware that I don't skip gears when upshifting in this video. I need to make two lane changes, but the inner lane is crowded and I cannot continue with my current speed. So I will have to apply my brake and shift from fourth to second gear directly when my speed is low enough. In the meantime, while applying my brake, I need to indicate left and I look for a safe gap where I can make the lane switch. While driving a manual car, remind yourself with this basic rule. The traffic condition determines your speed, and the speed of the car determines the gear that you should drive with. Every time you apply your brake and reduce your speed, you have to also think of lowering your gear. And on the other hand, when you accelerate and catch up speed, you have to also think of shifting up to a higher gear. My speed is reaching to 60 km per hour, and now I can shift to fifth gear. the motorway on the next exit. Once I leave the motorway, I need to reduce my speed. So I apply my brake and shift to fourth gear when my speed is low enough for fourth gear. I stayed on first gear longer because I know that the road has potholes here, and I want to cross the potholes slowly to protect the car from damage. I shifted to fourth gear, but the road ahead is not free to drive with a speed that is appropriate for fourth gear. So I apply my brake and switch to second gear when my speed is low enough for second gear. Here also, the road is a 50 km/h road, and I can drive using fourth gear. But because of the traffic situation ahead of me, I cannot accelerate more, and I will have to stay on third gear. Now I can accelerate to a speed that is good enough for fourth gear, and I make an upshift. I have priority over this black van, but the driver decides to join the road without waiting me. So I will have to reduce my speed. In this case, I reduced my speed to about 40 km/h, and I need to shift my gear from fourth to third gear. Please note that had the van made me reduce my speed more, I would have switched directly from fourth gear to second gear as usual. When you are creeping like this due to crowded traffic, of course, first gear is the one to use. The speed limit is changing to 30 km per hour. So I will have to reduce my speed and also shift down to second gear. The roundabout ahead of me is busy during this time of the day. I almost always use second gear to cross roundabout. The advantage of using second gear while crossing roundabouts is that you can reduce your speed to a lower value without fearing that the car will stall. This gives you enough time to look around before entering to the roundabout and while leaving the roundabout as well. First, I adjust my speed and shift down to second gear. But while adjusting my speed, I also assess the traffic condition of the roundabout. The first thing I look at is the pedestrian crossing that is before the roundabout. In this condition, it looks like that there is no pedestrian or cyclist that is heading to the pedestrian crossing that can potentially meet with me when I reach to the pedestrian crossing before the roundabout. But this is not a guarantee that the pedestrian crossing will be free when I arrive there, because cyclists or scooter riders that are not in my eyesight at the moment can suddenly show up at any time. The second thing I check is if there are cars that are preparing to enter to the roundabout from the left side. I see two white cars trying to enter to the roundabout from the left side. Yup, I will have to stop and give way to both of the white cars. Once I am into the roundabout, I have priority over the cars that are trying to enter to the roundabout from my right side. So the car I marked here by the red circle will have to wait me. But drivers sometimes act against the law, and this car might try to drive into the roundabout anyway. If such incident happens, I will have to be ready to take actions. To clarify one important point, I just brought the picture of this roundabout from Google Map. If you want to see the picture yourself from Google Map, you can search for Hisingen Sweet House, and this roundabout lies in front of the Sweet House. Currently, I am on the spot that I marked with a green mark on the picture. I want to go to the direction marked by the green arrow. The roundabout is single lane at the point where I am now. But after I turn to the left, the roundabout will have two lanes, and I can use both the inner and the outer lane to exit out of the roundabout. The white car that you see on the video is on the spot that I marked by the red mark on the picture. So, if the white car decides to drive to the roundabout at this moment using the outer lane, I will have to stay on the inner lane and exit the roundabout using the inner lane. But if the white car waits me, I can switch to the outer lane at around the spot I marked with the yellow mark. Of course, checking my blind spot and indicating to the right are the usual procedures that I will have to do here as well. Please be aware that in this case, it is my responsibility to make a safe lane change. Yes, I have priority over the white car, but once the white car drove to the roundabout using the outer lane, I will have to make sure that I can make the lane switch safely. Otherwise, I will have to stay on the inner lane. In this case, the white car waited me and I exited the roundabout using the outer lane. There is another roundabout ahead of me, and I will have to reduce my speed. Currently, I am on 4th gear driving with a speed close to 50 km per hour. As I mentioned earlier, I cross roundabouts using 2nd gear almost always. So, I aim to be on 2nd gear while crossing the roundabout. I can achieve this either by sequentially reducing the gear from 4th to 3rd gear and then to 2nd gear. Or I can directly shift from 4th to 2nd gear by skipping 3rd gear. I prefer using the latter option. The road ahead is partly blocked and it is wide enough only for one car to go through at a time. When you have such a narrowing road, it is always important to assess the intention of the driver on the other end. If the driver on the other end has already committed to go through, you need to stop and wait until the road is clear. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you get useful information. Please don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit the like button, and also share the videos.